Shabbat, but on Erev Sukkot, one of the extended High Holy Days. So Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur have ended, and here we are at Sukkot. One of our prayers that we'll talk about a little bit later in the service, Hashkivenu, talks about a Sukkat Shlomecha, a sukkah of shalom, of peace spreading over us. So we'll talk to you a little bit throughout the service about this holiday of Sukkot, what this means for us during our calendar and in our lives today. But we thought it would be a beautiful way to begin our service of Shabbat, to welcome in the Sabbath bride, to welcome in the holiday, and to welcome each other in with a prayer for a Sukkat Shalom, a sukkah, a canopy of peace to spread over all of us tonight and always. Please join us. Shabbat Shalom and Hag Sameach. We're going to continue with lighting our Shabbat candles, and I'd like to invite up all of our B'nai Mitzvah parents, the Tofias family, the Becker family, and the Cates family.
Shabbat candles, we link ourselves with the generations of our people who have kindled these holy flames. Time passes quickly, and we take this moment to pause and express our gratitude. We stand here as B'nai Mitzvah families with humility and love for this occasion, for one another, and being a part of this sacred community.
Our families stand here together on the cusp of an incredibly significant milestone. On the eve of our children becoming B'nai Mitzvah, we acknowledge that they are quickly becoming adults with all of the privileges and responsibilities that entails. We are grateful for this moment and feel privileged that we can share it with our congregational family.
As we participate in this age-old ritual, we embrace this moment as we move forward in the cycle of our lives. Yesterday we held our children in our arms, and tomorrow they will be called to the Torah as B'nai Mitzvah. These Shabbat candles remind us not only of the joy of this occasion, but they help us to see the light within one another and the strengths that each of us possesses. Grateful for all the precious gifts in our lives, we kindle the Sabbath lights.
Technical difficulties.
you.
We continue welcoming in Shabbat with Lecha Dodi, which can be found on page 7.
Continue with our call to prayer with the Baruch Hu on page 9. Please rise. continue on page 10. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד, ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. Before we continue, I want to just make a note, which is that you may have heard that the melody that I just sang for that Chatima, that conclusion of the prayer, is not the same one that I usually sing each Friday. There is a way that our tradition signals changes in our calendar, which is called the nusach of our tradition, the way we chant the prayers. And Pedro, who was one of my teachers in cantorial school, kindly reminded me that there are special chatimot, special conclusions for the holiday of Sukkot and Simchat Torah. So the educator, he transcribed the concluding melodies for me and reminded me that I had learned them and that I could teach them to you. So you'll hear throughout the service the chatimot, the concluding phrases that I usually chant for you, sound a little bit different, and they are in the nusach of the festival season. So you'll hear how our tradition heralds in the holidays through music. So a little gift for all of you from Pedro and from me.
Tidbit from Pedro.
Exactly.
We'll continue on page 11. In each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world. In each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment we stand face to face with truth. In each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment the knowing heart is filled with wonder.
In each age the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth. Ki heim chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla ve'avatecha al tasir mimenu leolamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael Shema
Please be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. So in the Hashkivenu, the prayer we are about to sing, we ask God to provide over us a Sukkot Shalom, a sukkah, a shelter of peace. A few months ago, we had Sarah Hurwitz here as a guest speaker, and in her book that she spoke about when she was here, called Here All Along, she shares this teaching by Rabbi Sheila Peltz-Weinberg, who points out that the word sukkah in this prayer is actually a pretty odd request if we are seeking protection and safety. A sukkah is fragile. It's an open-air structure in which we are entirely at the mercy of the elements. We don't ask for a fortified castle of peace or a heavily guarded underground cave of peace. It's not a prayer for total safety, but to somehow find peace even amidst the storms that blow through our fragile lives. And I think that's especially relevant in these days. So we'll continue with Hashkivenu on page 16.
Shalom,
we'll rise for the blessings of the Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Koneh HaKol, V'zocher chastei avot v'imahot, u'mevii geula livnei v'neihem, lema'an shemo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham v'ezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol, atah rav le'oshia, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umidom elach. Melech memit u'mechaye u'matzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman atah hachayot hakol baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. And we now turn to our Misha Berach, our prayer for those who are in need of healing of the body and healing of the spirit. We pray for those in our community tonight: Stanley Amsterdam, Errol Brett, Cindy Baker, Bill Christie, Edward A. Cohen, Marty Halpern, Albert Levison, Carolyn Katz-Leibowitz, Jerry Marcus, Robbie Palermo, Bruce Shapiro, and Sandy Solon. And given the news out of D.C. this morning, we send our prayers to the President, First Lady, and all who continue to be afflicted by this incredibly dangerous disease. And a few of names that you would like to share as we prepare to pray Misha Berach this evening, I invite you to say them out loud or hold them in your hearts. Baruch atah Adonai rofei hacholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals the sick. we turn from the healing of the body to the healing of the world, praying for a shalom rav and abundant peace one day in our world. Shalom rav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Just under a week ago, we observed Yom Kippur, which is the most intense day of our year, both individually and communally. And we spent a month leading up to the High Holy Days, the entire month of Elul, and then the entire days of Awe, in this state of mind of how to better ourselves, taking an account of our souls, reflecting, apologizing, and forgiving. All really important things, all things that we do during this time of year, but also all mindsets that take an incredible amount of energy. And realistically, we end Yom Kippur, and the idea of jumping back into our normal state of mind, our normal flow of our days, is not so realistic. We need time to finish our teshuvah, to continue to transform, and to slowly ease back into our days. And that's where Sukkot comes in, because at least I think that's where Sukkot comes in. I was taught once that Sukkot is a self-care holiday. It's time to adjust to the new year, to slowly make our way back into the flow of our everyday lives, and finally a time to sit down and rest. So we'll take these next few moments to pray silently.
abundant kindness, please answer me and give me salvation.
With staying on the theme of Sukkot for this evening, which I'm really excited about because I love Sukkot. It's one of my favorite holidays. I love that it's in the fall. I love that it's the start of the air getting a little bit colder and sweaters and everything that comes along with fall. But I also love Sukkot because it reminds me of what it's like to be in a tent. There's parallels between a sukkah and a tent. And I love the idea of being in a tent because I love camping. And I love camping now and sleeping outside under the stars, everything that goes along with it. But I really loved camping when I was growing up, and the summer camp that I went to that was in Ontario in Canada, and leaving camp, we would go on these like 5 or 6 day canoe trips through Algonquin Park. It was a large national park in Canada, and these trips were both miserable and amazing at the same time, in the sense that it's the kind of trips where, 14-year-old Leah is like portaging a canoe on her back and crying the whole time because you're carrying a canoe. And then you get back in the canoe after you make it across that piece of land to the next lake, and there's a sense of calm on the water where you are totally and utterly at peace. I remember it being, even as a teenager, and as a young teenager, the most incredible feeling. And then at the end of the day, we would arrive at our campsite, and eventually, after the whole evening, go to sleep in a tent. And you can unzip the window of the tent and still have the smell and feeling of the nighttime summer air and being outside, but also feel a little bit like you're surrounded by protection, or that's at least what I thought for a long time. And I especially in Algonquin Park loved a tent because Algonquin Park has a couple thousand bears roaming around. And even though they don't typically interact with humans, I thought that without a tent that a bear was going to actually eat me in the middle of the night. So my thought process was, if you had to put your food up in a tree, then I didn't want to, I needed an extra layer to protect me from the bears. But so anyways, I learned very quickly that a tent is actually not such a stable structure. There was a night that it rained, there was wind, there were other animals that came by, a tent pole snapped, the zipper broke, so the window was stuck open. It was a pretty miserable evening. And the thing is that this thing that was supposed to protect me from bears just broke and rolled over and essentially didn't protect me from anything at all. And I'm reminded of this during Sukkot, not just because the tent and the sukkah are both temporary structures, but because they're temporary structures that, as I mentioned earlier before we sang Hashkivenu, before our prayer that asks God to build the shelter of peace over us, they're both structures that have this sense of fragility to them that's inherent in how they are intended to be built. By design and by law, the instructions in the Torah for building a sukkah are very clear that it's meant to be flimsy, it's meant to be unstable. It's not intended to sustain from all the elements. Ultimately, it's meant to have this sense of fragility to it. And it represents, Sukkot is full of metaphors, and it represents not just the fragility around us and in our world, but it also represents the fragility in each of us. And all of that is, I think, so present at this moment, both in the world and also in so many of ourselves, that this sense of fragility is, I think, especially at a time like this, so clear and so apparent. It's also a time to remember the fragility of the Jewish people, that as Sukkot is said to recall the time that the Jews spent wandering in the impermanence of the time in the desert, that the entirety of the sukkah encapsulates what it means to be vulnerable, what it means to be uncertain. But just as intentionally fragile as it is, it's also intentionally a place where that fragility is tempered, and it's supposed to be tempered by a sense of joy and a sense of strength. And in the midst of this unstable structure, Sukkot is called Zman Simchatenu, which is a time for rejoicing. And so I guess what I always ask is, how do we find a sense of joy that is able to temper, that's able to balance out that sense of instability that is there in the sukkah? And so one of the ways that I think that we find this sense of joy and this sense of strength is through the lulav and etrog. These two, four things, I'll explain them a little bit more in a moment. But one of the ways that we do so is by coming together, that typically in a year that is not like this one, we would be joining all together under the sukkah. And though it looks different this year, there's a teaching around these things that I'm holding that I think really represents to what it means to bring joy through ourselves into the sukkah. So the teaching is about the makeup of people and community as it relates to the lulav and etrog. And it begins this way. Taste represents learning, and smell represents good deeds. The etrog has both taste and smell. The lulav, which is this tall one, has taste but no smell. The myrtle has smell but no taste, and the willow has neither. And each of these represents, in a way, a different kind of person. Some have both learning and good deeds. Some have good deeds but no learning. Some have learning but no good deed, and some have neither. And real community is found in all these types of people being bound together and brought under one roof. And in thinking about how we can stabilize the fragility of our current society with the bringing together of many different people, that alone, each of these parts of the lulav and of these four species are fragile on their own. But when they're bound together, it's much heavier, it's much stronger. And when we bring together, the different strengths and the different characteristics bound under one kind of metaphorical roof, that's really where we get the unity of our community, and that's how our community regains its strength and upholds its strength in a time of fragility. So with that, the ritual that we do with these is to shake the lulav and etrog all around us to represent God being all around us. And on behalf of all of us, I'm gonna shake the lulav and etrog for us. And I'm gonna say the blessing, and then we shake it in 6 directions. Forward, straight ahead, right, back, left, up, and down. And our blessing is Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat lulav. So. And then, so as we shake this lulav and etrog and bring these species together, we use this time, and I invite you to think a little bit about what it means to metaphorically and safely bring the joy of our community and the strength of our community together, and even do so in times of real fragility in our world. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach, everybody. And in addition to it being Sukkot and a little Sukkot learning there, it is also the first Friday in October, which means it is our birthday and anniversaries. So if you are celebrating a birthday or an anniversary in the month of October, I'll invite you to rise, whether you're here, whether you're on our live stream. Got a few birthdays, few anniversaries. So here we are, it's October, and it's cold out, and that's when I would say that it is officially fall. The air is super crisp, and the leaves are changing colors, and they're starting to fall off the trees. So a few things about the changing leaves and the changing seasons. First is that it happens every year, and each and every time that it happens, I think about that it's one of the most beautiful and powerful things that happens in nature. And as a tree grows from year to year and the leaves become bigger, there are more of them and they become all the more beautiful. And second is that leaves don't change and fall overnight. It's part of a process that builds all year, and when they're ready, that's when they change and that's when they fall to the ground. And as the leaves change, so do we, because fall is part of a process and can be a powerful metaphor for how we live and grow and shed the old and prepare for the new. And as you make your way into this new year in your life, this new year in your relationships, I hope that both of these things remain true for you. That this new year is an ongoing process, both of shedding what you want to leave behind, but also maintaining all the beautiful things that you carry with you from year to year, building on them and making them even more beautiful. So with that, I pray that this year is one of growth, it's one of newness, it's one of change, but it's also one that maintains the best parts of ourselves. So to mark this time, we'll say the words that our people have said for generations. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'hikianu lazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, and thank you for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for enabling us to reach this day. Very happy birthday and a very happy anniversary to all of you. And we'll invite you to remain standing and for everyone else to join as we turn to the words of Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. Please be seated. And we now come to the words of Mourner's Kaddish, the words that honor the lives of those in our families and our community who are no longer with us. As part of honoring their memories, when you hear the name of your loved one, if you feel so inclined, we invite you to arise to honor their memory. Tonight we are in a period of Shiva for Rochelle Jacobs, mother of Lisa, Eric, Dana, and Neil, grandmother of 11 and great-grandmother of 2. And we're saddened to announce the passing of Rita Snyder, grandmother of Brooke and Daniel Blue. We are in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days, remembering Alejandro, Gabriel Kreisman, Richard Manis, Harry Penso, Abraham Schneider, Lillian Sokolow, Dr. Michael Stone, and Ellen Tabbs. And it is the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Catherine Ackerman, Harriet Menkes Lesnick Elbert, Goldie Ames, Gabriel Bachman, David Bitterman, Rose Block, David Chaffetz, Ida Cohn, Herbert A. Cummins, Rebecca Danzig, Josephine Dubovi, Benjamin E. Fursko, Helen R. Finger, Gloria Fishman, Vivian R. Griffinger, Henrietta W. Gross, Ignaz Grunberg, Minnie Halpern, Goldie W. Halpern, Marcia Horowitz, Lillian Stern Eisenberg, Cecilia Cohen Jacobson, Arnold Jelinek, Beatrice Laufer Karp, Michael N. Karp, Jean Ellen Kaufman, Arthur Lewis Krieger, Michael Laufer, Emily Drapkin Lehman, Milton Lesnick, May Z. Levine, Milton L. Lewis, Sidney William Lux, Jess Abner Mercy, William E. Morchauer, Olga Marissi, Susan Morrow, Abraham Nelson, Rose Novins, Rose Tedor Park, Gail K. Payton, George Pollock, Richard Kenneth Puder, Hannah Resnick, Abraham A. Rosenberg, Max Sachs, Murray Schutzman, Henry Schwebecker, Ruth London Schwebecker, David Schwartz, Sophia Salzbach, Esther Van Zuden, Nancy Yagoda Weil, Samuel Weiss, Jenny Wittenberg, and Martin Weitzberg. And we'll rise together as one sacred community to honor their memory with the words of Mourner's Kaddish. We're on page 27. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agalah u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'elma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huya asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronan livracha, may their memories be a blessing. And just a few announcements? Yeah, just a few announcements. And everyone can be seated. So next Friday night, we are back here at a Simchat Torah, another festive Shabbat service to celebrate with a bit of sweetness afterwards. Then on Sunday, October 11th at 9:45, our adult education series continues. Cantor Stahl is teaching a class called Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform, Ideologies that Define Us or Confine Us. It's going to be a really interesting class, I can imagine, and everyone should. It's over Zoom, so encourage you to attend. And then on the October 17th? Is that what is the Bait Cafe? On October 17th on Saturday, we are having calling it our TBJ Bait Cafe. It is going to be an evening here with music and festive fun.
Think of it like an open mic night.
Like an open mic night.
If you have a musical talent or any talent that you would like to share with us, we encourage you to come. This is an adults event, so have a drink, enjoy some music featuring the MT3. Matt Turk, our very own Matt Turk, is going to bring some of his friends with whom he has played for many years. He's going to grace us with some really special musical talents that we don't usually get to see on a Friday night, some secular music. I know, what a concept. And it should be a really lovely way to enjoy this beautiful space before the weather turns and it becomes just a little too cold to be outside.
And then the next week, to keep in mind, we also have our Blessing of the Animals the Saturday following that. And so all of those things and more can be found on our website and in your orders of worship. Take a look. There's a lot of exciting things going on, and we hope to see you at as much as possible, especially before it gets too cold.
Speaking of exciting things that are happening in the life of our congregation, we have 4 very special children, young adults, not so much children anymore, who are becoming adults in the eyes of the Jewish people tomorrow. So we are going to call on Benjamin and Madeline Tophius, Danny Cates, and Oliver Becker to lead us in Shabbat evening Kiddush and Motzi. Come on up, guys.
Shabbat kosher be'ahava uratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehila lemikra kodesh zeher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'harta ve'otanu kidashta Mikol Amim V'Shabbat Koshecha Be'ahava Uratzon Yinhaltanu Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
So to the 4 of you We are so incredibly proud of all of the work that you've done. Every week we evolve our process just a little bit, so you will see you have a Shabbat kit before you. There is a Kiddush cup there, which is a gift to you on behalf of our congregation's Brotherhood and Women's Association, which is something that we hope you will use tonight and for many years to come as an opportunity to celebrate holy days and as a memory of this day. There is some juice right there with each of your names on it, so we will let you put your juice into your cup if you would like to, but you can take a sip of the grape juice since you just blessed it. And then there is a mini challah for each of you. So we're going to have you lead us in motzi now, and then you can take all of your goodies to go. Ready? As they head back to their seats, we'll invite everyone to please rise. As we bring our service to a close, we leave meditating on the idea of impermanence. Dear God, we ask you to spread over all of us a shelter of peace, a shelter of confidence, a shelter of community. We remember that although we each bring the different pieces of our personalities, the different strengths, the different good deeds that we do, and the different learnings that we have had throughout our lives, that all together, when we are bound together, we are made stronger as one congregational community and as one people, the Jewish people. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Dear God, we ask you to spread over all of us all of those blessings, to help us to remember that no matter how different we are all one as you are one. And we say together, Amen. We say Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sukkot Sameach, and thank you so much for being a part of our Shabbat evening service.